Okay, so in today's video, we're going to be talking about how to put a trolling motor on your kayak. Not just this trolling motor here, but also like a Motorguide IX3 or like a Minn Kota power drive. If you see my other video, how I built this one here, you'll kind of get a better idea about this trolling motor. But we're going to be talking about how to mount the plate on the kayak, and also the wiring and control box back there. But another thing we're going to talk about in this video is how to choose a kayak that is kind of made towards you can kind of put a trolling motor on easily. You know, not all kayaks out there are easy to put a trolling motor on. Sometimes the front of them just isn't big enough, isn't heavy enough. Sometimes the back isn't big enough and heavy enough, and sometimes it just um, you'll see after we talk about it a little bit. There's a few things that you really need to look for and pay attention to when you're buying a new kayak that you plan on putting a trolling motor on. So let's get into it. Okay, so when you're looking at a new kayak to put a trolling motor on, there's a few things you really want to look for, and that's really the front end and the back end. And you know, how flat is the front end? How much space do you have between here and here? Like this Pelican here, it's not too rounded. It's pretty flat in the front. You know, I took some rubber boots right there and just kind of leveled that up. You know, made that pretty flat. I just took the front handle out right there and put some bolts through them holes that the front handle was already bolted through. But also, you want to make sure that you have a flat surface area here in the front. Like this Pelican here has a huge flat surface area right here. And what that does, it allows you to put a deck plate in here. This is a 4-inch deck plate, and that will give you the access to the inside of your hull to mount your boats, you know, run your boats through here, to help you with your wiring. It just really makes it a lot easier when you can get access to the inside of your kayak through a deck plate. You know, that's waterproof right there, so that's just something to look at. You know, if you got enough space, how flat it is, how rounded it is up here, how much area you have right here to put something like this, whether it be on the side or right here. Also, talking about flat surfaces on a kayak, you know, anytime you have a flat surface here on the sides, that's always a good thing, you know, to mount like your rails like this, your fish finder, my little power box for my trolling motor, like I said, rail holders like this. But anytime you have a flat surface on a kayak, it just makes life so much easier to mount anything on it. So coming to the back, you know, if you want to put a trolling motor on the back, you know, on these Pelicans here, they have a transom fan kind of made already in it, which is pretty handy. You can bolt a quick attach plate right here, and you already have access to the bottom there of the kayak, so you won't have to cut a big hole in it or anything. You just have to run a power plug in your wiring. You can put that right here somewhere. Like I said, just make sure you have enough space right here in your kayak, and also make sure you got enough flat surface area to put like a deck plate or your wiring or what have you. This kayak here, that's one reason why I chose this kayak over a lot of them on the market, because it had everything that I wanted to do what I wanted to put a troll motor on it. There's so many kayaks out there. Like the first Pelican I had, it was a Catch 120, and the front of it was just terrible. You know, if I would have knew what I knew now, I wouldn't have bought the kayak, because it was just a nightmare to put a troll motor on it, because it was just so rounded. I didn't have enough area here to mess with. I did have a troll motor on it, but it was definitely a headache to put it on there. Another thing on your kayak, you know, if you're wanting to put like a Motorguide IX3 or a Minn Kota power drive, really all you need is a quick attach plate like this right here. This is the bottom portion here, but once you get this mounted on your kayak, you can just quick attach your trolling motor on and off of it, whether it be, like I said, a power drive or like the setup I built here. And if you're going to go that route, all you would need is a power plug for the trolling motor to get power to it, because you're going to run it off a you know, remote keyless thing. You still will have to put a deck plate in if you go that route, because you'll still need access to the inside of the hull to do your boats and stuff. But now we're just going to get into how I put this trolling motor on this kayak, and the wiring and the control box back there. Okay, so once you get your kayak picked out, whatever it is, and you make sure that you can have enough room to put a plate on it and have enough flat surface to put a deck plate in it, The first thing that you're going to want to do, if it has a front handle on it like this Pelican did, you're going to want to remove that front handle. These Pelicans here, these handles have a little rivet holding the handle on, and all you have to do is take a 1/8 drill bit and drill the center out of that. And once you've done that, both rivets, you can get on the back side of it with a pair of pliers and just pull that other side of the rivet off, and it will come right off, and just leave a nice flat hole right there. Coming to the front, like I said, if your kayak has handles like that, you can remove them, especially if they have rivets like that. But if your kayak has the handles made into the kayak, that's actually worked better into your favor, because you'll get to keep your front handle. On this one here, I actually use this as my front handle. It's just super sturdy. It just, you can grab it all over the place right there. It's real good for a front handle. But the first thing you want to do, once you get everything figured out, go ahead and drill your 4.5-inch hole in your kayak using a 4.5-inch hole saw. Again, this is a 4-inch deck plate, but you have to drill a bigger hole for that to fit in there. So you have to take a 4.5-inch hole saw bit and drill a hole in your kayak. And that's actually not, I know it's scary to drill a hole in your new kayak, but as soon as I bought this one, it's part of it, but hole saw bits are one of the best ways to go to drill holes in your kayak. It just drills real smooth, flat holes, real good for mountain stuff. But again, first thing you're going to want to do is drill that, get your deck plate set up, and then drill your holes, figure out how far forward or back you want to mount your plate. You want to make sure that once you put the trolling motor on that top plate, that your trolling motor isn't too far forward or too far back where it doesn't hit your kayak, or if it's too far out there, it just adds extra length to your kayak, and I just hate that. So just make sure when you mount it, it's either too far forward, too far back, where it needs to be. Go ahead and mark your hose front and back. And I used grade 8 1/4-inch boats on this, but these rubber boots right here, they're just I think they're 1.5-inch rubber boots, and I just used that to level the plate up. However level the front of your kayak is, you want that plate pretty level. That way when your kayak or trolling motor goes down, it'll be in the right position. So like I said, just use them rubber boots right there. You can tighten it up to help smash it down. Just put bigger washers on the back side of your boats there. That way it has plenty of surface area to pull down on. For the electrical plugs here, you're going to take your hole saw bit and drill a 7/8 hole for these plugs right here. These are SAE plugs. I get these off Amazon, eBay. They're just a real simple plug. You can see the end right there. You can buy these in the kits. They come with the front and the back of the plug. I think I've seen them for around $15 for front and back for a couple of them. So it's a real easy, simple way to run your wiring. And for your power plug, you will use a Motorguide power plug. You can get these on eBay or Amazon, and that is a 1 1/8 inch hole. Again, use your hole saw bit to cut that hole too. It just really cuts real good holes in the kayak, so make sure you do that. When you're putting this back together, or when you're getting ready to put it back together for the final time, take you some silicone and run around the back of these plugs on the inside of your boat hose, just around that flat part right there. So when you mate it up against the kayak and put your screws in, it'll be watertight. Same thing on your deck plate. Just get you a bead of silicone and run around the edge of that on the inside of them boats right there, up next to that part that's going to go in your kayak right there. And when you put it on your kayak, it'll be waterproof. It has a seal on the front side there. It's waterproof there, so you don't have to worry about that. So now we're going to talk about how to run the wiring through the kayak and how to cut the hole in the back for the power plug. Okay, so once you have all your holes drilled for your deck plate and electrical plug-ins, don't actually put your plug-ins in yet and your deck plate, just leave it open. You go ahead and you already have your plate mounted, you figure out where you want it at. Now it's time to figure out where you want to put your control box at. On this Pelican, it has a flat surface right here on the inside of your paddle holder. It's like 1.5 inches wide right there, and that's where I mounted mine at using Scotty weld nuts. If you've never used Scotty weld nuts before, they're a really good way to mount things to your kayak that's waterproof. It has a rubber boot on the back side, and a screw goes into it and just kind of crimps it down real firm, and it's just really good for mounting stuff to your kayak. Um, like I said, on your kayak, which one you choose, you need to figure out where you want your box at, because that's going to decide at where you want your battery at, and you'll have to drill a hole for your wires to come up into your box. So try to figure out where you want your box at. And this Pelican, I just mounted right here by my seat. It's just really easy to grab right here while I'm in the kayak. Just real not out of my way to try to grab it or anything. It's just right there where I need it. And like I said, if you're doing a Minn power drive or a Motorguide iX3, you won't even need this. You'll just need to run your power supply to wherever you're putting your battery at. Like me, I put my battery in my black pack here, and I just drilled a hole in the side of it, and then I made another Motorguide plug right here, and I just run it through there and plug it in right there, and that's where I get my power at for my battery. On this setup, I drilled a hole there, and then I just ran my wires with a clothes hanger to my box right here. It's not very far from there to there. It's not like the front of the kayak there, where it's pretty good ways. So we're going to go ahead and get this box off here, and I'll show you where the hole is for this and how you get the wires from here to the front. Okay, so once you figure out where you want to put your control box at, now it's time to drill the hole for your wires to go through. This is a 1 1/4 inch hole, and once you get all your wires through, you'll need a 1 1/4 inch rubber grommet. We'll put that around the wires once we get all the wires run through. So you will need that after we get all the wires put through. So how I did this, you will need you're gonna need 3 sets of red and black. Small wire like this, doesn't have to be very big. And then I used a pair of jumper cables that I got from Walmart, or you can get it from Harbor Freight, just a cheap set. It's really big gauge wire. That's what I use for my power wire going through my trolling motor through the hole. It's just really cheap wire. It's heavy duty wire, so it can handle the amps and the power. And what you're going to do is get a fiberglass pole here. This is just a flag pole, and make sure that it's long enough to reach the front of your kayak. All you're going to do is take electrical tape and wrap all them wires at once around that pole real tight. And once you get it all wrapped up, stick it through that hole right there and just run it to the front, all the way up there to the front. And once you get it up there, you can pull it off that pole. And once you do get your wires up here to the front, you want to make sure that you pull out about a foot extra up here. That way you'll have extra to do all your wiring right here, and then you'll stick the excess wire back into your hole when you put these plugs in. Like I said, you want to make sure you have like a foot and a half extra, just so you can do your wiring right here. You won't be trying to tug on it real tight or whatever, and then you'll stick the excess back into your hole. The same thing back here at your control box. You want to leave about a foot and a half to 2 foot back here. That way you'll have plenty of wire to mess with. That way, in case you mess up, you will need extra wire to just do all this with. So just make sure you have extra wire pulled out, at least a foot and a half on each end of your kayak. Again, this is just a fiberglass flagpole. You can get these at Lowe's. They're just really flexible, not very big. They're just really good for running wire through your kayak. So now we're going to talk about mounting this box. Okay, so I do want to talk about the battery a little bit. Like I said, I have my battery mounted inside my black pack. I have a hole drilled inside of it. Again, I use a Motorguide trolling motor plug. It's the same one I used in the front. I just drilled a 1 1/8 inch hole here, and I used a clothes hanger to run my power wire from my battery to back to this hole here. Again, use a heavy duty clothes hanger, because that wire is pretty heavy. Again, I just use jumper cable wire. And again, pull out about 1.5 foot extra to 2 foot. Just kind of allow yourself enough extra wire there, because you will have to wire all this up. So just like I said, just in case you mess up, you got a little bit of extra wire and you're not trying to pull it real tight to make it all work. So now we'll talk about this box here. Okay, so once you have your hose drilled here, you have your wires ran from your battery to this, you have your wires ran from the front to this hole, you have all your wires hanging out. Now you want to figure out where you want to mount your box at on the kayak here. Like I said, I mount mine right here on this flat spot right here using Scotty weld nuts, and I have an overhang about 3 inches on the box. So this box here is 8 inches long by 4 3/4 inches wide by 3 inches tall. So once you figure out where you want to mount it at, you want to drill a 1 1/4 inch hole in the box using your hole saw again, and you want to mark 3 holes or 4 holes, however many you want to use to mount it to your kayak. Mark them 3 holes in the box. Take the box off, drill those 3 holes out using 3/16 drill bit. Once you've done that, put it back down on your kayak, mark them 3 holes on your kayak with the marker, and then take it back off again. And what you're going to do then is use a 5/16 drill bit. These Scotty weld nuts here, they have a rubber piece right here that comes off, and that's 5/16 and that's 3/16 on the boat. And what you'll do is you take this off. Once you drill your 5/16 holes, you put them in the holes, and then put your box down on top and put your boat down through them holes and tighten them up, and the box will be there. And that's just a really good waterproof way to mount anything on your kayak. I use these a lot for rod holders, just about anything, rail on your kayak. It's just a real good way to waterproof mount something on your kayak. Again, these are just Scotty weld nuts. You can get them on eBay or Amazon. Now we're going to, after we get the box mounted on here, we're going to go through the wiring. Okay, so once you have your box mounted down, you got your bolts all tightened up, it's there. Now we want to talk about drilling the holes in the top portion of your box to mount your switches, your joystick, and your up and down switch. However you want to orientate yours, I just kind of got mine in the center, off to the side here a little bit, kind of the back here. This hole here will have to be a 5/8 hole, and then you will need a 2.5 inch square U-bolt, and that is mounted to the back of that switch. It kind of just straddles that switch with a piece of plastic going across from one hole to another, and that just holds that switch up to that box. Kind of see right there at the top, and that switch right there is just your factory switch out of the head of your trolling motor. If you haven't seen the video of how I make this trolling motor, the first part of that video I will go over how to take this switch out of your head of your trolling motor, and then we'll show how to wire it up. But that switch right there is just this one right here. But that is just a piece of plastic going across there with 2 locking nuts. That's a 5/16 by 2.5 inch wide square U-bolt. And that just holds your switch up there real firm. You can get this control knob right here on eBay. It just fits on the switch. You can use your forward and reverse. The joystick up here is a left and right only joystick. If it's a 1 1/8 inch hole, you'll use your hole saw bit to drill it. Your little up and down switch back here, it's a double throw switch. It's a 1/2 inch hole. So again, 5/8 inch hole, 5/16, 5/16, 1/2 inch, and 1 1/8. And once you get all your switches, everything mounted down firmly, then we'll come back and go to the wiring everything. Okay, so now it comes to probably the most complicated part of this, is wiring it all up. I know it looks really complicated right here, everything's kind of too close together, but if you go back to the video where I built this trolling motor, at the end of that video I did a little bit simpler illustration there. I had everything kind of spread out on a black table showing how it all works. So if you can't really understand how this works here, you might want to just kind of watch the end of that video. Might give you a little bit better idea. So coming over here, these 2 sets of wires here, red and black, these are the power wires coming from your battery that we ran from over here through the kayak. These are the ones that go to your trolling motor switch, battery plus and minus. You want to take, you can either use one of these splicers right here, or you can splice them together using one of these yellow ones. But whichever one you do, you want to make a jumper wire coming out of it. That's the positive here. Then I come out of it and I got two positive wires coming out of it. And all those two positive wires are for is to go to my relay to power it, and it also goes to my up and down switch to power it. Same thing with the negative here. I got two jumper wires coming out of it, and all that does, same thing, it just goes to the negative on my relay and negative on my switch. That's just how I get power to my relay and my switch. Like I said, that's the battery wires right there. Coming over to your trolling motor switch, that's where them two plug in at. I just got them unplugged. These two bigger wires right here, that's the ones that we ran to the front of the kayak. That's the jumper cable wires. That's the ones that give the power to your trolling motor. These two little ones right here, and this one right here, that is the yellow and the white wire coming out of your trolling motor up front. I'll show that here in a little bit when we do the wiring up front. But just make note up front which one is white and which one is yellow. That way you get them on the right spot. If you do get them backwards, it's not going to burn your trolling motor up. It's just going to run backwards, so you'll know to switch them. So you can't burn it up or anything. So coming over to the relay here in Joystick, this is actually pretty simple too. Like I said, we got the positive and the negative coming from the battery, and this is the positive and negative going to the turning up front. This is a wire that we ran through the kayak. On the other side of the relay, we have a green and a blue and a black, and basically these are just signal wires on both sides, and this makes contact to which way you're turning left or turning right. That's all that joystick is doing, making contact with the black or the blue or the black or the green. On your joystick, all you're going to do is wire one side blue, one side green, come to the other side, and you will wire both sides black. That will just make connection on that joystick. Like I said, that's the joystick here. You'll wire one side blue, one side green, and then both sides black. Now coming to your up and down switch on your cylinder. This switch here, when you order it, it comes pre-wired like this. It'll have red and black coming out of it and two blue wires coming out of it. And that will go to the positive and negative jumper wires that we made. And the blue ones will go to your front cylinder up there. And it doesn't matter which one of these you hook it to for, red or black. Because you can't wire it backwards, it doesn't matter. It's not going to burn it up. So, like I said, red or black to each blue, it doesn't matter which way you wire that up. You can't mess it up. Now, when you do get all this wired up, you get everything set up, and then you find out that, well, your cylinder is backwards. You know, you hit the back button, and the cylinder goes down. Or if you turn right or left, and it's backwards. All you have to do is loosen them switches up, and turn them around, and they'll be the right way. Same thing with joystick. So that's pretty simple there, but now we'll go ahead and get this finished up, put the box back together, get all that tightened up, and then we'll go up front and finish the wiring up there. Okay, so now you got your control box all wired up, it's ready to go. Now you want to come back here and wire all the switches and power plug up. Again, if you want to keep track of what set of wires is what, I use masking tape. Just take a thing of masking tape, wrap it around there, leave a little flag out, and just write on that masking tape what set of wires or what. I did that up here and back there. It just really helped me keep track of what was what. And, you know, it just kind of helps with miswiring anything. And once you wire that together to that plug, go ahead and stick the excess wire down into your hole. And before you put it in there, just take a tube of silicone. I get this at Lowe's. It's just indoor, outdoor silicone. It's clear. It's a little tube right here. It'll do all this. It goes a long ways. and just run a little bit of silicone around the inside edge of that plug, and then just stick it in your hole, put your screws in there, and it'll be nice and waterproof. That's how I did all these. So same thing on your power plug. We just wired it together, stick the excess down your hole, put some silicone around it, and once you get them plugs done, we'll go ahead and do the deck plate too. Just put some silicone around the edge of that right there. Then it'll made up to that surface right there, and it'll be nice and waterproof. Once you get all that done, we'll move on to wiring the trolling motor to these switches. Okay, so now you got your plugs all wired up, you got them in there siliconed up, your deck plate. Now it's time to wire your cylinder, steering housing, and trolling motor up. This is pretty straightforward and simple here. Your cylinder, when you get it, it'll have a red and a black wire coming out of it. You just wire it to the red and black on the SAE plug. That's the one that you'll plug down here. Same thing with the turning housing. It just has a red and black wire coming out of it. Wire it to red and black, and that plug will plug in right here. That's for your turning housing right here. Now, as far as the trolling motor, I told you earlier about the white and the yellow wires coming out of it. This is just an old trolling motor I have to show you. When you take your head of your trolling motor apart, it'll have a white and a yellow coming out of it, and a red and black. That's pretty straightforward. You just wire the red and black to your trolling motor plug here, your Motorguide one. That's going to be the power to your trolling motor. That will be the two wires right here. And then this SAE plug, you will wire the yellow and white to the red and black. Just make note of what color you wire the white and the yellow to. That way the control box will be correctly up there. Like I said, you can't burn it up. It's just your trolling motor will run in reverse, and you'll have to switch them wires around. So don't worry about it. You can't burn anything up. So after you get this all wired up correctly, go ahead and plug everything up. We'll go back up there and plug power up and make sure everything's wired up correctly. Okay, so now we got everything wired up, everything's plugged up. Now I'm going to go back to the control box and make sure everything is working properly in the right direction. Alright, as you can see, everything's working good. Now we're going to go back to the control box, and I want to show you what happens if something is in the wrong direction. Okay, so like I said earlier, if, like say, your up and down switch here is working in the wrong direction, or if your left and right is backwards, just take your screws back out, lift this just a little bit, loosen these switches, and just turn them around the opposite direction. Same thing with that one right there. If it's wrong, just lift it up a little bit, loosen it up, and just turn it around the right direction. It'll be right then. That's all you have to do. You don't have to rewire anything to correct the direction. So that's about it. We covered everything on the front and back. I really hope this helps y'all out for us making one of these kits here. Again, you don't have to do this particular kit. You can do a, like I said, a power drive or a Motorguide iX3. The only thing I hate about those is you kind of lose your up and down. You know, the main reason I wanted this trolling motor set up here was for the power lift. And I cut the shaft off a lot more, so it's not very deep in the water either. But, you know, in shallow water, like a power drive or like a Motorguide iX3, you either have to pull it all the way up or it's all the way down. You can adjust your depth with your collar, but, you know, it's just a pain in the butt while you're out there. You know, I like it set up here because you can stop it anywhere you want to in shallow water, just like you can lift it up whenever you're coming to the bank. It just really makes life a lot easier. You never have to leave your seat back there to do anything with your trolling motor. But that's going to be it for today. Appreciate y'all watching. Hope this helps out. If y'all have any questions or what have you, if I missed something, you have a question about some of this, just drop a comment and I'll definitely get back with y'all. Appreciate y'all watching. Till next time.